So this lecture is going to be regarding the second part of what we are already going, and this is regarding the different types of interviews to be conducted. Okay, so we are going to talk about different kinds of interviews. So part one we have already covered, and in this video lecture, the further parts regarding the interviews are going to be discussed upon. So let me open all the system so that I can show you what we have prepared in this specific lecture. So just one second. So recruitment selection we have already gone through. Then we did about different kinds of tests, and this is the start of interviews. Okay, all right. Interviews, we have to start. Regarding definitions, I have already given you all the relevant things regarding interview in the first lecture. Part first, I told you that this is a face-to-face interaction between employer and prospective employee. Okay, so this is a face-to-face interaction in which what happens? The questions are asked to the prospective employer relating to the job, and it is found out whether he is able to perform the job or not. Okay, so this is about the interview. So interview is the process in which face-to-face interaction between employer and the employee happens. So I have given you information regarding that, and I have already told you there are three broad categories in which the types of interviews can be divided. So there are three broad categories, and I shall be telling you all the broad categories and the different types of interviews which are covered under each. So the first one is classification of interviews according to structured are as under. Okay, so first is classification of interviews according to structure. According to structure, there are two kinds of interviews. The first one is unstructured, and the second one is a structured interview. In the unstructured interview, this is also named as a non-directive interview, and the structured interview is also known as a direct interview. So what is unstructured interview? Unstructured interview is interview where there is none kind of plan, rules, policies, regulations followed, in which there are none kind of pre-sequence or pre-structured followed for asking the question. That kind of interview is known as unstructured interview. So basically, this is the interview in which there is none kind of pre-plan, pre-rules, pre-policies, pre-regulations. So in this is generally, this can be considered to be an a kind of interview in which whatever comes to the mind of a manager, he just go on starting saying that or asking that to the candidate. He is not pre-planned that what I'm going to ask in a specific interview. The second one is structured, in which the questions are planned and these are structured. First, they shall ask about something regarding his personal things. Then he shall ask about their education. Then they shall ask about their academic achievement, and they shall ask about their experience. So this is the complete structure of interview. This is known as a direct interview. So in this kind of interview, the questions are very much structured and very much directed. So these two, structured and unstructured kind of interview, falls under the classification of interview according to the structure. So these are the two or three things we have to go through in order to understand the different matter regarding interviews according to structure. The next one is classification of interview on the basis of a purpose. On the basis of purpose, why the interview is being conducted. On the basis of this question, there are three kinds of interview. The first is a stress interview, then appraisal interview, then exit interview. What is stress interview? First is stress interview. In this, the employee is given a stressful condition. Employee is given stressful condition. Stressful condition. It can be anything like there are a sudden meeting. Okay, suppose the manager is assigning him the duty to attend a sudden meeting within half an hour or just within an hour. Then how shall the employee manage all the things relating to this specific situation or condition? This is, and after going through that, he can ask this kind of a question. Okay, in the interview, that suppose if I'm going to give you that kind of a condition, how you shall come out of this situation with the best idea and the best conclusion and best result. This is the kind of a stress interview. Basically, a stress condition is given to the applicant or the interviewee. So this is stress interview. The second one is appraisal interview. Okay, appraisal. So in the organization, after giving the training to the employee, their interview is conducted whether to know what they have learned from a specific training program. Okay, and what is the achievement they have done? How much is the change in the behavior, motivation, personality of the employees after going through a specific training program, or how much the level of skill they have achieved after going through a specific training program. So the interview conducted for taking the note of all these things is known as appraisal interview. Okay, I hope you have got the difference between these. First of all, I am going to explain last one, then we shall be taking the difference between these three. The last is exit interview. Sometime the employees leave the organization due to some of the reason. When they are leaving the when they are leaving the organization, the manager conduct their interview, and that kind of interview is known as exit interview. You are working in an organization for past 5 years, then you can have some reasons to leave your organization. Okay, before leaving the organization, you have to give them your resignation. Okay, when you give them your resignation, then they conduct your interview to ask you why you are leaving the organization, what are the possible reasons, or if these are the reasons which we can improve upon further. That kind of interview is known as exit interview. So basically, there is stress interview in which the stress condition is given to the applicant. There is appraisal interview, which is conducted for gaining the knowledge whether what the applicant has learned from a specific training program. The last one is exit interview, which is conducted when the employee is leaving the organization. So we have classified the interview on two bases right now. First was according to structure, and the second one was according to the purpose the interview is being conducted. Okay, so it was about that. Now we are going to move further. So this is going to be the last one. I think one is left more. There is the classification of interview on the basis of content. Okay, on the basis of content, you can diversify the interview on four bases. Four bases the interview can be diversified. First is situational interview. So the situation can be posed to the interview or the applicant. Okay, suppose this has happened with me. My interview in a specific college was a situational interview. Okay, what happened there? I was asked to teach. I was asked to teach in a simulated environment. Like there was no one sitting, only 2 or 3 people were sitting. First was the principal, second was the HOD, and third one some other person. Okay, and they asked me to stand up and deliver a lecture on any topic. This is kind of situational interview, when you are given a specific situation in which you have to perform. Then the next one is a job related interview. They can ask you the question relating to job. How you shall perform when you are standing in the desk, how you shall prepare your notes, how you shall prepare your presentation, how you shall, which method of teaching you shall use while conducting the lecture in the classroom. So these are known as job related interviews. Then there are behavioral interviews. How you shall behave in a specific manner. in a specific kind of a condition. So this kind of interview is just taken when the situation is presented to the candidate, and they are asked to behave, and they are told to provide the complete structure of how they shall behave in this kind of a situation. Okay, so there is a difference between situational and behavioral. Okay, do not confuse with that. In a situation, actual situation is given and the candidate is asked to perform that situation, but in behavioral interview only the question is asked, and he is asked that in this specific situation how you shall behave. Then there is a psychological behavior, which is an interview which is conducted by psychologists and experts to know, to gain the insight about the present level and structure of a psychology of the candidate. So this kind of interview is known as a psychological interview. So on the basis of a classification of interview, on the basis of a content, there are four kind of interviews. The first is situational, then second job related, third behavioral, and last one is psychological interview. So before starting this lecture, I told you that there are three ways or three grounds on which the by which the interviews are bifurcated, but I have skipped the one. I think this is the last one. This is the classification of the interview on the basis of administration. On the basis of administration, there can be four types. This is how the interview is being conducted. There is one-to-one interview, like only principal and you are sitting. This is one-to-one interview. Then a sequential interview. First of all, the HR manager has taken your interview. After that, the HOD is taking your interview. After that, the principal is taking your interview. So this is the sequential interview in which the different levels of interview are there, and you are interviewed by different persons at a different level. This is called the sequential interview. The next is a group interview. You are interviewed by the complete group. Okay, you are interviewed by the group, and this group can ask you the question on a specific agenda. Okay, suppose there are 6 or 7 people sitting over there in group, and they are asking you or they are interviewing you. Okay, and agenda is the same. They are all asking you the questions relating to a particular subject only. This is called a group interview. Panel interview is the same as group interview. The only difference is each of the panelists is expert of their own field. Okay, of their own field, and they can ask you the question relating to a particular field. This kind of interview is panel interview. In the UPSC or Union Public Services Commission in examination, this is the kind of interview which is held. So these were the 4 classifications on the basis of which the different kinds of interviews are there, and I hope I was able to teach this completely. If we are going to make the conclusion of all these, then there are interviews on the basis of structure, interviews on the basis of purpose, interview on the basis of content, interview on the basis of administration. So these were all the necessary details regarding how the interview is to be conducted. Okay, so I hope I was able to teach you this completely. Now, all the topics, we took 4 lectures today, and we have completed the topics which was to be completed on Monday. And I have decided, because in the coming days there can be the huge workload for you as well. Now you can imagine, I have taken the classes for more than two hours, I think. Okay, so if I have it could be very hectic at that day. So now you can have the time, and we can also have the time to make some kind of tests for you as well. So regarding the Tuesday's lecture, I'm not going to burdenize you. That's your wish. I'm not going to take it right now, because I also need some kind of rest. After 1 or 2 hours, if these are conducted, then we shall be informing you for sure. Okay. Otherwise, that shall be a recorded version for today's lectures as well. So just before leaving, thank you so much, both of you, because you were the very consistent, because maybe other were very much busy, because this is the weekend, everybody have their own plans. I'm just going to ask you this particular question, that ma'am, do you have understood what I have taught you in interviews, in interview lecture? Do you have understood this, that completely? Angela ma'am, Indu ma'am, just asking you this question. Okay, all right. Thank you so much. I hope you would have liked this, and that would be hectic for you as well, because this is a weekend. Maybe you would be having some kind of plans. If this is the situation, you can imagine now the kind of hard work we are doing, and we need your results. You should be there. Okay, for doing all the things, all the stuffs which are provided by us. So now I'm just going to request you that in case you are busy or any case, I have to record the Tuesday's lecture today. That timing can be anything. Okay, it can be evening or it can be after 1 hour as well. Then if you are busy, then that's not an issue. I shall be giving you the recorded version of Tuesday as well in today, because you both of you were the consistent for the lectures. Thank you so much for joining me in this lecture. This is Gurpal Singh from Gursur Education.